for one of our most anticipated shows of the year, Kentucky Derby time. You can watch it all on NBC Friday night in prime time, Saturday all afternoon. Check local listings to get all the specifics, but you will see on the broadcast, I can guarantee you, the two men who join me now. They are Jerry Bailey and Randy Moss. Guys, how are things?
Busy.
See, where are we here? Yeah, we're already a little fatigued. But when you're covering 17 races, people think, okay, Derby Oaks, hey, that's great. But there's all these undercard races, as you know, that we spend as much time on just about as we do the two big races. So
there's a lot going on. You can get all the insights on all the races if you watch the excellent coverage from NBC. On this show, though, we're going to focus on the headline items, and we'll begin with the featured race on Saturday, the Kentucky Derby. Seems like a little bit of a different Derby, I would say, than we've had in recent years in terms of how wide open it is, seemingly. Would you agree with that, Jerry Bailey?
1,000%. We've been asked when we go through the barn area the last couple of days, who do we like? And I said, here's 8. I could pick any one of the 8, and I would be okay with it. And that's the truth. All 8 to me have a little something. They have to add a check mark, a black mark, a question mark, whatever, however you want to phrase it. But they all have a legitimate chance to win.
I thought it was 7. He added one on me in the last week. We're going to have to talk about that when we get off the off the podcast.
It is 7. The Derby's got, the Oakland's got like
okay.
8.
All right.
I'm very excited to hear thoughts on these contenders. Randy, when we spoke a couple of weeks ago on the channel, we were focused on Further Ado, a horse who, since we last spoke, we know drawn, I think we can say confidently, really well. How are you feeling about him specifically as we head into the Derby?
Obviously his prep in the Bluegrass was more impressive from a numbers perspective than the prep of any other horse in the race, including the program favorite Renegade, who's the betting favorite also right now. I think the last I looked at 9-2. It would not surprise me, obviously, at all if Further Ado wins. He's done nothing wrong here in his training. Brad Cox believes that he'll be just as good as he was in the Bluegrass, if not a little bit better. But then again, that's what you expect a trainer to say on Kentucky Derby week. So you have to take all those things kind of with a grain of salt. But we saw him this morning, and he looked good.
He's a small horse, but he's well made, and his flesh is good, his coat shiny. I would say that at least an outward appearance is that he looks no worse for the wearer after running so well in the Bluegrass.
And by the way, as confused as we've been about who we're going to pick and who the best horse might be and all that, the people involved with the horses feel the same way. All the trainers, the riders that we've talked to, you name it, the owners, they're all very much of the same mindset that a lot of different horses have a good chance to win.
You mentioned the program favorite Renegade. One of the angles in his direction would be the fact that Irad Ortiz Jr. ends up on him when he seemingly had other options. Jerry, how much does that mean to you that a rider of Irad's level seemingly chose to be on Renegade as opposed to any of the others? And what do you make of some of the other jockey musical chairs, as it were, that occurred ahead of this year's Derby?
First of all, I will tell you, Pete, I won 2 Kentucky Derbies and chose wrong 4 other occasions. So, that is not the be-all, end-all. They are so close. I can't criticize Irad for picking Renegade over Commandment or Further Ado. I think a lot of it has to do with his relationship with Mike Rapoli and Todd Pletcher. But I also think that he believes the horse has a really good chance to win. I was surprised to some extent that Flavien Prat chose Emerging Market over Commandment, having just won the Florida Derby on him. But Emerging Market, I think, is one of these 7 horses that has a chance. So it's not a terrible choice, but I think he's taking a higher price horse.
And when I asked Mike Rapoli his thoughts about Irad Ortiz taking Renegade, he said it was easy. He said, if he doesn't take Renegade, I ride him out of the will.
there are politics that go on, and I wonder, Andy, if that specifically doesn't play into the Flavien Prat decision with Emerging Market over Commandment, just because of what an important a client that Chad Brown would be for him and his agent. But as a number-oriented player, Randy, how much do you factor in these jockey assignments?
I don't really factor him in much at all because, as I've said, ad nauseum on your podcast, when you get to this level at the Kentucky Derby, I mean, literally, what's the difference between Irad Ortiz, Flavien Prat, John Velasquez, Jose Ortiz, Tyler Gaffleone, Junior Alvarado? You can just name a bunch of them, and you can play musical chairs with the jockeys, and I don't think it's really going to impact, in most cases, the horse performance at all. So I don't really pay a lot of attention to that. And in the case of jockeys choosing one horse over another here, like you say, there's business relationships that play into it as well. Flavien Prat's choice of Emerging Market. We went back and did the statistics yesterday on his involvement with Chad Brown, and he has been Chad Brown's main guy by far in 2025 in terms of graded stakes wins and mounts and things like that.
I will have to say that I think I agree with your philosophy with John Velasquez taking Further Ado. I don't think there's any loss there from Irad to John Velasquez because I think he fits him perfectly. Johnny Velasquez is a position rider, maybe one of the best of all times, and that's the kind of horse that Further Ado is. But I do think that Commandment loses a little bit going from Prat to Saez. Saez is a really good rider, but his strong suit is his strength, not his mind. First, relative to Flavien Prat. Flavien, I think, along with Irad, is the best in-race decision maker in America. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to happen with Commandment because he's going to be mid-packish, something like that. And I think he's going to have more decisions to make. And I think they take a slight decrease in jockeys taking Saez over Prat in that spot.
So we're working on our short list here. I think it seems pretty clear that these leading market contenders are going to be on the list, whether we're talking about Renegade, Further Ado, or Commandment. But you guys are talking about a 7-deep list. I want to get to some of the horses on that 7 that might not be so obvious to anybody just stumbling upon this video on YouTube. When we're talking about horses at a little bit more of a price, Randy, who comes to your mind?
Well, one of the ones that comes to my mind is the horse that I'm picking in the race, which is Chief Wallaby. I mean, right now he's at 13-1. I kind of expected him to be a little bit lower than that. The Puma would be another horse. I mean, if you like Commandment at all, how can you not like the Puma? Commandment, yeah, he was way back in a slow pace in the Florida Derby. So was the Puma. And the Puma might have made a bit of an early move to go after Nearly at the top of the stretch, coming to the top of the stretch, because Nearly was regarded in that race as a prime contender.
He was the favorite.
Yeah. And so that might have cost him a little bit at the end, and Commandment runs him down by that much. And the Puma also covered more ground on the turn than Commandment did. So, yeah, you can go a lot of different ways. But the way I saw it ultimately, and believe me, there's not a great deal of confidence in this pick because it's so evenly matched. But you could, looking at the numbers, they're all so tight, maybe with the exception of Further Ado's win in the Bluegrass, that if the blinkers move up Chief Wallaby at all, and if Bill Mott plays this to where, like he did with Sovereignty, to where he circles the date on the calendar and Chief Wallaby improves and runs his best race on Derby Day, then to me that might make the difference. But I don't know.
13-1. That's interesting. I was thinking with all the buzz around the workouts, he might be the wise guy horse. Perhaps that's been supplanted with some other narratives, some celebrities buying into horses that might be moving the public money more than we would have thought. Jerry, we've talked before on this show about Bill Mott and having a target and pointing to a race. It seems so unusual for him to have such a lightly raced horse that he seems confident about heading into a Kentucky Derby. How much weight do you put in that? The fact that Bill Mott, not a guy who's going out of his way to put horses, in aggressive spots, makes the decision to run Chief Wallaby here. How significant is that?
Well, this was the only spot to run him at, Pete. It's not like he was choosing between this and another race, and he's not costing the horse another race by running here. Where else is he going to run? I think what tipped his hand was Bill Mott lets the horse tell him if he's ready. If the horse hadn't improved out of the Florida Derby, you wouldn't see him in the entry box. So the horse had to really tout himself to Bill Mott that he was stepping up and closing the gap. Now, not just physically, mentally. That was according to Bill, that was one of the biggest jumps that the horse had to make, was the mental jump to catch up. Because if you remember, he didn't start at 2. So he didn't have all that time to develop mentally between races. It was all crammed in a short amount of time. So the mental aspect, I think, really is what told Bill Mott the horse is ready.
And keep in mind, 2 months ago, Mott was not all in on this. After Chief Wallaby broke his maiden, he wanted to run in a 7-furlong allowance race.
Right.
And had him pointed for it, and the allowance race didn't fill. It was scheduled on the day after the Fountain of Youth. And really, almost against his better judgment, and he talked about it a lot beforehand, he put him in the Fountain of Youth, not comfortable with it at all. And the horse ran well, very good. And so at that point, it's the Florida Derby, and now we're here.
Amazing. Jerry, we've heard Randy's selection for the Derby. Have you settled on one horse that you're going to pick at this stage?
Yeah, I think even though I'm afraid the Bluegrass was maybe too good, I'm going to go with Further Ado. I think he gets a really good trip. He's shown he's faster than anybody else on his best day. And I think he can actually regress a slight bit off the performance at Keeneland and still win. That's assuming that he doesn't get swept up in a warmer, a hotter pace than he would like. But look, John Velasquez has won this thing 3 times already, and he's the best position rider in America, as I said. So he's going to find the right spot. I have confidence that he will, and for those reasons, I like him. But there is still a doubt in my mind.
So funny story, Pete. I knew Jerry was leaning toward Further Ado already, and yesterday somebody whose opinion we both respect said that Further Ado looked absolutely terrible in the paddock at the Bluegrass. So he was the worst looking horse in the race. So this morning we go on the backside. This guy's all about, I got to go see Further Ado. I got to put eyes on Further Ado. And so that's the first thing we did. We went to Brad Cox's barn and watched him come out to go to the track for the Derby, the Derby time where they all gallop. And he looked great, I thought.
Yeah. He's a small horse. He's not a big imposing horse, but his flesh looked good. He looked fine to me. It didn't look like he had changed.
He wanted to see him up close and personal before he solidified his pick of Further Ado.
I like that. So there's still a couple missing from the 7, the Magnificent 7, as it were, that we haven't touched on. I have to hold your feet to the fire to give us the full-on short list, and then we'll touch quickly on the Oaks, and I'll let you guys go on with life here. But who have we not talked about that we should be talking about?
So Happy, the Santa Anita Derby winner. I got my questions mostly because of pedigree, that he can get a 1.25 miles. He's by a sprinter. There's not a lot. There's blame on the female side, but of course he won the Breeders' Cup Classic. But I still have my question marks. Yeah. If he can go this far with these horses. I mean,
Commandment, right? The Puma, Chief Wallaby, okay. Renegade, Further Ado, So Happy,
Emerging Market.
Okay, there's the 7. I love it. We'll touch on the Oaks here. I do want to give a shout out to the sponsors of this video, our friends at the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development Fund. This year-round racing scene in Kentucky now is a direct result of the money that they are helping to raise and deliver to purses and horsemen in Kentucky. And we'll also shout out horse racing's newest major betting competition. The Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge is back and better than ever. You can play that from our friends over at twinspires.com. Go there, navigate to the tournaments tab, and you'll be all good. So we got the Kentucky Oaks in prime time on Friday night. Another race that I think we said we narrowed it down to 8. But guys, if I made you pick one horse, if I asked you to talk about one, who would it be, Randy?
I think we both probably have the same opinion here. I mean, I'll give you an exacta. And I think we both like it. I love Always a Runner. And Prom Queen has looked good to me too. And I think Zany is a very beatable favorite, as she showed a couple of times in the Ashland most recently. And so those are the two that I like a lot.
Yeah, that's the exact 2 I like.
Okay. So we can box that exacta and go to the bank. It sounds like. I'm excited to see this horse racing in prime time on NBC. Are you guys excited?
Yeah, it's almost my bedtime, but Pete, if I can stay awake, Yeah, I'm excited.
As long as he gets fed and doesn't miss dinner, he'll be in good shape. And they're actually bringing food to the set for this guy, so he can actually have dinner on the set. He missed too many meals when he was riding. So.
I started for 31 years, Pete, and I haven't been hungry since I retired 20 years ago, and I don't plan to start on Friday night.
You and Scarlett O'Hara, you'll never go hungry again. I love it. I love it. Guys, thank you so much. What a great pleasure it is to catch up with you ahead of this year's Kentucky Derby. You can watch it all on NBC. And if you're looking for more coverage out there of the Kentucky Derby, subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel. Cheers, guys.
Take care, Pete.